Hey, this is Shobhit from Intentional Product Manager. Now, in this video, I'll be talking through lessons from 5 clients who have achieved outstanding success in this crazy job market of product managers for 2024. Where people are being laid off and they're not getting interviews, these people have done some outstanding things. So, watch out for not just like the cool things about the program, but I think just as importantly, what are the kinds of things that they did to achieve this outstanding success? So you'll hear from 5 people. Let's start with the first one, Miles Godenker. Miles Godenker had been laid off from Google and he landed a director role. And one of the real cool things that he talks about is having a very clear strategy, knowing what you're good at, knowing what you really want, and then succinctly communicating that. And there is no use just responding to recruiters and applying for something just because it seems possible. You have to really do the work to figure out where do you stand an outstanding chance of beating your competition, of being better with the rest, better versus the rest. And he showcases that in this short clip that I'm about to show you.
Just because I have worked at a bunch of different types of companies of various sizes and on various types of problems, I was going in presenting myself as like a Swiss Army knife that could do anything. And while, that might be true for the most part, I don't think it was a very effective pitch for myself. I really needed to get down to what I really wanted to spend my career doing, talk about why I'm a great fit for that specific company. So it just was a really nice realization because I felt a lot more comfortable turning down inbound interest from companies that didn't align with my goals, and rather than just taking those interviews as practice. And I noticed a lot more traction with hiring managers when I gave them a much more honest opinion on what I did want to do and what I didn't want to do.
Excellent point. I want to highlight this for folks that if you're not clear on what you want to do, it comes across. It is very clear to the hiring manager that this person is just saying it just for the purposes of trying to make it to the next round, versus when there's genuine thought and intent that this is what I want to do, this is why this company fits into what I want to do. People want to be part of your growth and your success, which is what you very successfully did. Next one is Gareth. So Gareth was already an accomplished product leader. And what he found during this tough job market, that in the past, while he was able to land roles relatively easily, this was different. And it's not until he truly engaged with the program, really got feedback and fine-tuned his stories, his answers, to the extent that he was giving a direct, succinct, and a very powerful answer to any situation thrown in front of him, powered by his narrative, his core narrative. That's what he talks about. So I'll cut to that.
I mean, I think initially I was maybe overconfident. I've been successful and, in my own view. I feel like I've had a lot of good opportunities. I've never had to struggle going through the job interview process. So initially, when I wasn't landing these offers, I thought, well, one thing that's interesting is it seems like there's so much to know, especially in product management. There's all these different forms of interviews, and I kind of felt like I was getting caught off guard. Sometimes I'd have a design interview or a case, example that I wasn't completely prepared for, and I really wanted to understand the lay of the land. And that's when I started in the program. That's where I spent most of my focus. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, and I've been vocal about this, for the benefit of others, I didn't truly engage with the program. I watched the videos, absolutely. I participated in the sense that I took notes and I tried to learn, and I studied the different forms of interviews, and I brought that into my own practice, but I really didn't engage the way I should have with coaches. I really didn't practice my stories, and the cycle continued. I got to the final round of several different processes, many, and I'd get to the end and I just couldn't finish. In the job market that we're in, it's easy to say, well, there was one in particular where there were 2,000 other candidates, and I finished second. I knew the space really well. I knew the specifics of the job, and
Yeah.
I felt like I was the best candidate, but I knew something was missing for me not to land that particular opportunity. I knew there was something else I needed to do. And that's when I really started engaging with the coaches, and I really started practicing on a weekly basis, multiple times per week, to really craft and perfect individual stories. So I had already crafted a number of different stories. I really didn't want to feel like I was robotic during the process.
Yeah.
I think as I look back upon it, for every competency that I was being asked about, I had a story that I could tell, but it wasn't necessarily tailored enough to the situation. And
Mm.
one thing that really, there was one particular practice interview that I had done, and one of the coaches asked me a question that really should have been a layup for me. And I answered it with a story that I hadn't really perfected. I hadn't really spent a lot of time developing, but I thought I knew it pretty well. It was a very clear no hire. I mean, I knew immediately, I knew even before I was done speaking
Mm.
that there was going to be a no hire. That was my aha moment to say, I really need to get a single individual story for each example, for each different, for the 8 or 10 topics that I know are going to come up in these interviews. It's
Yeah.
not good enough to have 3 and I may bounce back and forth between them. For me, I really needed to get extremely specific, and I needed to tell my narrative in a way that was going to answer the question
Yeah.
for the hiring manager or for the interviewer in the way that they needed to. So I got an opportunity. It was a pretty selective opportunity. I found a company that I had known for quite a while. I had some contacts there, and I reached out, and one of my contacts was gracious enough to refer me into the process. I am so excited to be starting at Twilio just after the new year. Can't wait to get going. I'm going to be on the segment side of the business. That's data and
Okay.
applications. So I'll be working on another data-centric product in the
Cool.
MarTech space.
Yeah.
And so gracious and so excited about this. My recommendation would be to trust the process and to commit to the program. This is something that it took me a little while to do, and that's why I was overconfident, and I did learn that once I opened myself up, and once I got comfortable with
Mm.
being uncomfortable, and once I was able to work with coaches to give me the tough feedback that allowed me to perfect my narrative, I was able to achieve success. And I really think that is the best way to do it, to commit to practicing, leverage the IJS program and the roster of expert coaches, and find success that way.
Totally. And go all in, 100%.
Go all in.
And then there's Niharika. So Niharika was laid off from Meta, then even had recruiter rejections, and then she landed an awesome role at TikTok. How so? Well, her core shift was in a strategy session with us, where she realized that because of the layoff, she was now applied to anything and stuff below her level. So what she really talks about is applying to the right level of companies and the right level of roles, because somebody who's like, or a role that's 2 levels below where she could be, they actually don't want her. They don't want her to take a step back in her career, because at the end of the day, they want her to be happy and they want her to stay long term and not just give up and go to a lower level because the market is bad.
I think the first one was my strategy session with Shobhit. That was, I was already like, I was like, oh my God. Because what he made me realize is I would absolutely get rejected for roles which were too junior for me. And I had already, I don't know if it was a confidence issue, whatever it is, I had no awareness of what my level was in the market, because I'd been in this process of interviewing, getting a new job, getting a new job, getting a new job. And I had no sense of what the water was and where I stood in that water. And that was the first time where he was actually like, this is your experience. And actually, if it's a startup, you should be applying to nothing less than a staff or like a principal. And that was really hard for me to kind of grasp. I was like, really? Like, am I already at that level? He's like, yeah, you kind of are. So even just changing my mindset around what are the opportunities that I'm applying for, I think that was huge. It's not to say that I didn't apply for like PM, like I was still applying for everything, but it was extremely important for me to begin to establish my position and my brand as a PM, not necessarily as relevant for I think like the bigger companies, like, with Meta or with TikTok or with Google, like your PM, and then I know internally they'll sort of like level you along the way, depending on your experience and your performance. But I think that was really a big aha moment.
Next is Anirban. Anirban switched into an AI product manager role, which a lot of people want to do. So he's really future proofing his career. And this was after a layoff from his previous company. And he got multiple offers. And all of it was because of just pure persistence. He was fine tuning his work, he was going deep into it, he was taking feedback, applying it, practicing with peers. How many ever hours he took, he did not give up. He just went going. He took the support from the program, and that's why he got the success that he did.
I would say the curriculum gives you a very strategic, methodic approach to get to the next level, and there is no shortcut to it. You have to keep practicing and get better out of it, because some people maybe some people's characteristics are like they are very good in interviews, so they may say 100 hours, but you have to put in say 200 hours or maybe 300 hours. For some it's 300 hours. So I think the program really helps you go to your ultimate goal. It's like whether you are taking 100 hours or 500 hours, doesn't matter, but your coaches are with you so that you get to the destination that you are looking for. Ultimately, it's a very strategic, very, very, very helpful, very kind of friendly environment, which basically helps you get to your destination.
Yeah, and in your case, multiple offers, breaking into AML, good destination.
Then there's Justin. Now, Justin, really for him, the core moment was not starting with the resume, the LinkedIn, the interview answers, which most people want to do, right? They just want to quickly be like, hey, let's begin by fine-tuning my resume. No, it was about his narrative. He calls this that the program Miyagi'd him. Rather than going and starting with resume or something like that, we brought it back to basics and identified with him what were the things that he'd done in his career that were outstanding, that he needed to communicate. That was the basis for everything. And it will power his resume, it will power his answers, it will power his core pitch or tell me about yourself. He really got Miyagi'd. And that's what he talks about here.
So I loved the story writing. It's funny because when I have people ask me about the program as a whole, and looking back, especially now that I landed this great role that I'm really excited about, I tell people that the IJ, the Intentional Job Search Program, Miyagi'd me in a way, right? Because you're doing all these things and it's like, okay, it makes sense. Yeah, I understand why we're doing this. Now I understand why I'm doing that. And then there was this moment actually in one of the interviews with the company that I'm at now, where they're peppering me with questions and I'm just answering them. And I just knew how to answer them right away with no hesitation. And after the call, I sat there and I just thought, oh my gosh, I was able to do that because of everything this program walked me through, right? All the stories, restructuring them, learning the H-star system, identifying who it is that I'm interviewing with and what they are looking for. And then being able to, even if it wasn't one of those behavioral questions I prepped for, you eventually get to the point where it doesn't really matter because I know my stories now well enough that in 2 or 3 seconds, I can say, yeah, sure, let me tell you about a time, and I can just remember it from those 5 stories. If you're coachable and you're willing to put in the work and understand that this program is going to be work, but it will, it will take you, if you have this giant pool of candidates, it's going to take you from down here and it's going to put you up here, is what the program will do. It will get you noticed. It will help you know how to answer questions. And I think a lot of these principles can be applied outside of a job search, right? Especially for product managers. You'll learn, I've learned things that I can now apply in this job, how to present in appropriate ways. So I think it's a fantastic program. And I think it will surprise anyone who takes it, like how well it benefits them. It's funny because one of the things that I was most excited about was the referral network. And I still think it's fantastic. The irony is, I didn't need it. I had a because I redid my LinkedIn profile, with Sam and Parveen and their help and your help, and because I learned how to do some of those initial interviews and really present myself well, the VP of product for Henry Schein One reached out to me. So I was super excited about the referral network and actually didn't end up needing to use it, although I know there's plenty of people that land their roles through it.
Now, if you want to be in our next series of client videos, I encourage you to book a call with us. The link will be in the description. And hey, while you're watching this, if you enjoyed learning from these clients, make sure you check out this video that's all about how do you land a successful product management role